We're going to do 3 techniques working the shoulder girdle. So if you have a patient with shoulder impingement or just trying to work an overhead motion, here's a good place to start. So what you want to do for one is pre-position them partially into flexion. You don't want to use up all your flexion range. You want them to be able to then pre-position them so then they can move into flexion. So about halfway into flexion, maybe 3/4 is a good place, a great place to be. And make sure they have their other hand holding on to something. You need the extra contact, okay? So first thing we're gonna work is actually, we're gonna hit scapula on thoracic spine. So scapular thoracic joint here. So what we're gonna have our patient do is drop that foot back and sit into that back hip. And you'll see that that bottom up motion of stepping back actually drives more shoulder flexion. It drives them into more of a relative overhead position coming out of it. So we're going to grab superior border of the scapula, lateral and inferior corner of the scapula, and as he drops back, I'm just giving a little overpressure into upward rotation to facilitate the scapula moving on the thoracic cage here. Any pain here?
Nope.
Okay, so you want to make sure they're not getting in there into their impingement by going into this more relative flexed or overhead position here. Drop down a little lower when you go there. There we go. Beautiful. Okay, here's option number 2. You can do a technique to work tissue ischemia, to work the soft tissue on the back of that shoulder, the posterior shoulder cuff. So you can work teres group, infraspinatus, even supraspinatus. So what you're going to do is find any tension points that you want to work out. Go ahead and do the same dealio, and you're just applying some tissue ischemia, some pressure here. Oh, that's gnarly. Yeah, you feel that one. So you want to make sure that they're not getting, this could be tender to touch here. You want to make sure they're not getting their symptoms of shoulder impingement though, but you do want to work this tissue here. Go ahead and slow it down, drop down a little lower when you go. Good. So you can work posterior shoulder cuff. You can even sneak your fingers under and work subscapularis. So you go ahead and drop back. Oh yeah. Okay. As far as reps go, it's very patient dependent. You can go up to 20 reps there. You want to ease into it. You don't want to start off by crunching in there, okay? So you have your pin and stretch for the different musculature surrounding the shoulder girdle. Again, posterior shoulder cuff and spinatus. We have our scapular mobilization on thoracic spine, but now what we can do is also a glenohumeral joint mobilization to work an inferior glide that is needed as you're going into an overhead position. So technique number 3 is going to be same position here, but what you're going to do is slide it down just a pinch here. You want to support the shoulder joint from both sides, the glenohumeral joint from both sides. So you're going to go one hand supporting the scapula. You want to feel what the scap is doing, and the other hand on the superior or on the proximal superior region of the humerus. So let's do, and you can even let the shoulder rest or let their elbow rest on your shoulder. So go ahead and drop it down. And as he's dropping down, all I'm doing is giving a light inferior glide of the humerus here. So my top hand, going to drop down. My top hand is giving a little inferior pressure. And let's say it again. Good. Drop the hips a pinch more here. Good. And work the success range. If they start getting pain, make sure you ask, keep it pain free. Make sure you're asking. But then let's drop down even a little lower now. Beautiful. Again, you can do it with a foot reach. You can even do it, just go into a little squat here. You can even drop down in a little bit of a squat if that's easier for the patient. The point is that their hips are going down and back to drive bottom up flexion going into the shoulder joint. So you have your scapulothoracic mobilization, you have some pin and stretch tissue techniques, and you have your glenohumeral joint mobilization. Coolio?